Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas, and good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to every nook and cranny where our 100,000 watt transmitter gets its signals in so that you can turn on your FM radio if you still listen to those and listen to our music. But of course, many of you are listening over the internet, which means our reach is throughout the world. We get callers and inputs and chats from all over, folks. We have listened. We've got coverage. We've got coverage. Anyway, folks, how was your weekend? I trust your weekend was good. I had an interesting weekend this week. I'll talk a little bit about that before we get into the program. But first and foremost, we get to the geniuses that make things happen in our studio on Caroline. Good morning, studio.
Well, good morning from the cranny of KPFT. I'm sitting here in the cranny, not wanting to come out.
I'm up on the nook.
Are you?
I'm up on the nook.
Oh, okay. Well, good for you. I'm anxiously awaiting the Donald Trump bond thing today. This should be very interesting what happens. I mean, is somebody going to ride in like the cavalry and throw down $454 million to save the Donald? I don't think so.
I think he's going to be saved. I'm sorry. The guy is going to be, I think rich people are going to come to the rescue because as bad as Trump is, what they see in him is they don't want this is my opinion only, folks. I don't think they ever want to see a super rich person that is in the top X% of us to have a problem because they look in the mirror and say, oh, suppose the masses come for me. We can't set that precedent. That's my thought, but I could be wrong.
It's going to be when we come for you, not if.
Oh, man, I love your way of thinking, brother.
The thing about it is, well, look, if they see him as potentially winning the presidency again, which hopefully that's not going to happen. But if they see him as winning the presidency again, they'll go, well, Donald, when you were needing that $454 million, we did you a favor. Now it's time for you to give us a favor, too. So you got to look at it and go, yeah, OK, the presidency is now for sale. The possible presidency is now for sale for $454 million until the next civil trial or the next trial where he owes even more money. So let's just wait. This guy is a sinkhole. I mean, rich folks, if you're thinking about donating to Donald Trump or loaning him money, think again. He has swindled everybody in New York, and they all knew it. They said, we could have told you that he was a swindler. So beware. Politics, if you buy a politician today, that's the same politician that will bite you tomorrow.
Amen.
So be aware.
And he has preached.
I have. Now I'm going to get down off of my soapbox and let Jack give us some wisdom, because Lord knows I certainly don't.
Well, okay. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay. I read your post this morning. 15 million jobs added under Biden, 143 billion in student debt relief, record-breaking corporate profits. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad if the corporate would pay their fair share of taxes.
I could not agree more. I was just waiting because this is one of your shortest bouts with wisdom, brother. But, hey.
Well, I'm slipping.
It's Monday.
But no, actually, it's not slipping. You were just efficient. You were just efficient. So, hey, love it. Okay, but, that is true. Yeah, we're going to call you EJ, Efficient Jack. All right, EJ, Efficient Jack. But anyway, folks, I had an interesting weekend. I had a sort of a horrendous week last week because my wife was in the hospital and I slept at the hospital, then ran back here to the studio to get the show done. It was just crazy. Well, she got home on Thursday, which meant I could kind of resume most of my activity. On Saturday, I was supposed to go to a function at the UU Universalist Church in town, but I didn't want to leave the Kingwood area because, just out of the hospital in case something came up. I wanted to be close by. But I really got a few things done still. I went out for one of our coffee with Egberto, one of the people who went ahead and did that. And, usually it was supposed to be a sit down for an hour. And instead, it turned out to be a sit down for 3 hours of good discussion with somebody that is very conservative and very far to the right. It turned out to be a great discussion. And, I really enjoyed it. And then, we also had somebody come over, come over. My wife has some friends and they said, you're sick. We're going to bring stuff over to the house. And the first thing she did when she came into the house yesterday said, "Stay away from me, you progressive." This is Democrat not talking now. "Stay away from me for progressive. You try to take my job." She was kidding, of course. And she said, "I brought you guys all this food, but Egberto, you can't eat because it was bought with oil company money." She listens to my show. I gave you a head. But the reason I brought that up is that we did all of this in jest and we had all this communication with all kind of folks. I also had my HVJC meeting where, we are pretty progressive folks. And I sat back last night and realized, it's funny. I went through the spectrum of people over this weekend. I had some other contacts as well. Spectrum of people this weekend. And it was so, what is the word that I want to use? We discussed politics, we discussed some religion, we discussed all these things, but not once did we show that kind of animosity towards each other that you're seeing on Fox News or MSNBC and all these things where these folks with these different ideological beliefs just were at each other's throats. And, folks listened to what each other was saying. They had jokes, they talked other issues, etc. And then the first thing that hit me was, that is who we are generally. I mean, we actually, without bad external forces, and I'm not only talking about in today's world, I'm talking about when the world was a nasty place. When we left when we kind of just enjoyed our humanity, if you will, things worked out pretty well. It's funny because I after our friend left and I texted her and I said, "Hey, look, thank you very much. I tell you, that oil money dinner was so good. I appreciate you." And the reply is just like, "Man, it was just great seeing you guys." I mean, that is where we should be as a society. And if we are there, we don't give that opening to the politicians to do what they do to get what they want. And, I was just looking at that through the microcosm of 3 days, 3 days on the weekend, and I just kind of reflected and said, imagine if we could get there. Imagine if we could get to the point where we don't make these things cause us to hate on somebody, want to do harm to somebody, etc. And it comes from making sure that we don't allow others agency over our minds. Don't allow others to have agency over your minds. Allow them to fertilize your mind. Allow them to water your mind. In other words, allow them to throw seeds in your mind. And for seeds that grow, fine. For seeds that don't grow, fine. For seeds that grow distasteful plants for you, hey, get rid of them. but it doesn't have to cause any problem. That is my little start of my little soapbox today. I just thought about that, in the interactions I had with quite a few people over the weekend, just staying right here at home. Anyway, Patrick Barron, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I have been waiting for this, and I have up all night. I do not think someone will bail his treacherous butt out. LOL. It seems like you think exactly like Brother Howard is thinking. We'll see what happens. Let me tell you, my gut feeling, the court's going to bail him out. I think the court's going to bail him out and give him time, all that good stuff. And they may give him enough time for him to get Truth Social to have the board of directors get rid of the 6 months waiting period, and he'll go ahead and sell a few Truth Social stocks. The stock price is going to tank, but he'll sell enough of it to get $500 million. We'll see. I don't know. I just know that some people play by different rules than the rest of us. And until we realize we are all in the same boat, we'll stop allowing those special people like the wealthy to get away with what they get away with. All right. Patrick Baron, thank you for those comments. Great comments. Anyway, the title of the show today is Confirmed Trump Tax Benefited Rich Execs. And there's a distinctive article out of Common Dreams. I like Common Dreams because, again, it's a paper with progressive but fact-based information, unlike some of our more well-known rags. AOC rips Tapper's Trump defense, and Todd rips NBC. I don't know if I'm going to get to the videos yet. It all depends on the calls that we get, etc. But always remember, you can always find the videos, etc. at let's see, KPF, or rather, politicsandright.com/ politicsandright.com/newsletter. Melanie Keelan says no sound. Is anybody else here seeing no sound? Because I see that we should have sound. I'm transmitting over well, and I see that I'm transmitting over the internet as well. So please confirm that the no sound is real. Melanie Keelan in Barcelona, Spain. Please confirm that we are transmitting over the internet. I'm seeing signals. I want to make sure that it's not something on your side. Anyhow, so I want to start, however, with what we talk about all of the times, and that is, as predicted, the 2017 Trump tax cut went to the wealthy. That's who it took care of. And we said it. And the reason this is important is that Donald Trump, during the campaign, is going to talk about Biden raising your taxes, and that the great tax cut from Donald Trump did great for the economy, and it lowered people's taxes. And you're going to sit down, and many people are going to sit down and believe that, not realizing several things that occurred during the 2017 and beyond period. The way the deductions were handled, you got back more of your money up front because, the way you handle the deduction, you got back more of your money. The withholding that they do. The withholding that they do, they made it seem like you were getting more pay. But at the end, where you expected that big tax return from Uncle Sam, which, by the way, if you're getting a big tax return from Uncle Sam, you're loaning your money to Uncle Sam tax-free. But anyhow, the rich people never do that. They never give their money to us tax-free. So you shouldn't give your money to us tax-free by not taking out the minimum amount of deduction to ensure that the IRS only takes out the amount of taxes. You got to be aware of that. But anyhow, so it turns out that you never got the tax cut that you thought you got. So here it is. A high-stakes tax policy debate will accelerate this year through 2025 let me stop. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Extension number 2 to get on air right away. And the phone lines are wide open. And as I said, you come first. If worst case scenario, you just read or listen to our videos, watch our videos, etc. from our newsletter. Anyhow, a high stakes tax policy debate will accelerate this year through 2025 over the pending expiration of the individual income and estate tax provisions of the 2017 Trump tax law. Policymakers should use this opportunity to work toward a tax code that raises more revenues, is more progressive and equitable, and supports investments and make the economy work for everyone. As the debate unfolds, policymakers and the public should understand that 2017 Trump tax law was skewed to the rich. Households, listen to this, households with incomes in the top 1% will receive an average tax cut of more than $60,000 in 2025, compared to an average tax cut of less than $500 for households in the bottom 60%, according to the Tax Policy Center. As a share of after-tax income, tax cuts at the top for both households in the top 1% and the top 5% are more than triple the total value of the tax cuts received for people with incomes in the bottom 60%. So you see how even not just in people earning, but even in the tax policies that we get, we constantly skew more money to the top. Now, basic math, folks. There is a contention that some will always say, if you make more, of course, if you make more and they give you a percentage tax cut rate, you get a much larger amount of money, which is true. But I like to postulate something. What this means is, let's do this, because this is something that always behooved me. They make tax policy a percentage policy. Well, if you make X amount of dollars, right? Or no matter what you make, you pay when you do sales tax. It's in Texas, it's 6.25% for state tax, another percent for county, another percent for city. It's a percentage. So anything you spend, you pay a percentage of. Now, I can deal with that somewhat. But when it comes to income, the monies you earned, if we just make it a percentage, that holds true. If you make $1,000 and the tax rate is 22%, you're going to pay on $1,000. You're going to pay $220. But if you get a tax cut, let's say a 10% tax cut, you only get back $100, right? If your income is $1,000. But if you make $100,000 and you get a 10% tax cut, you get a windfall of $10,000. I always talk about us being indoctrinated in the way we think, right? Why are we taxed on percentages? Why are we given tax breaks on percentages and not based on value, right? Because when you get taxed, or whether it be taxed or tax breaks on percentages, it says that your taxing is regressive and your tax breaks are progressive. Think about this. Why is it then that you are going to get on $100,000, $10,000 tax break for somebody making $10,000, $1,000 tax break? Same persons, right? Same persons. I mean, same kind of income, but you get a huge amount of money from your government because you are wealthier. Shouldn't the government say, well, you know what? We're going to give tax cuts. Let's give everybody $1,000 tax cut. I don't care if you make $1 million or you make $10,000. We'll give everybody the same benefit. That's sort of a tax cut. Now, on the income side, then you say, well, why do we not just charge a fixed value on the income side? Well, that's not hard to evaluate. A progressive income tax, what it means is as you make more, you pay more, larger percentage of what you make. And why is that fair? Some people say, well, I work hard. First of all, in the case of stockbrokers, etc., taking 90% of their income is fair. If you sit on your butt and move papers and other people do the work, and you think you're entitled to all the money that, based on the flaws of capitalism, you make, that is indoctrinative teachings. Because if somebody who knows how to make a mill, somebody who knows to make bread, somebody who knows to plant and grow crops and feed the world, don't make that kind of money, and you sit down and you sell the crop the farmer makes, and by selling the crop the farmer creates, or creates with the help of nature, that you are entitled. Rich people like to talk about people who get Social Security and all of that as they feel entitled. Well, you feel entitled to make money on something you can't produce. You cannot produce. You feel entitled that if you sell the pieces of paper, the futures, that's what they call it in commodities terms. If you sell the futures for the farmer, you feel it is okay for you to make more selling futures for that farmer sitting your butt in an office in New York or Chicago than that person who goes out on the farms and till the soil and plant the seeds and collect the things. You feel entitled as the executives in an auto manufacturer to go ahead and make the money when the guys on the line are taking the risk of losing their fingers, their limbs as they build your cars. Right? I'm going to answer the pro athlete in a minute, Eric Hayes. You feel entitled to that, right? No, it shouldn't be that way. Because again, those who execute and build the things should not make less than the people who sell it. I remember I had a product called, I still have the product. It's just old now, but it was called ComDRV, and the product was sold for $189. And to build that particular version of the product, it took me, I don't remember how many months to create it, debug it, create the manuals for it, and put it on the market to sell it, etc. And then a reseller comes in, and then they say, we'll carry your product. You'll get 40%, and we get 60% for putting it out there on the market. To which I said, thanks, but no thanks. I'll sell it on my own. Luckily, the internet was coming into fruition, and it made things much easier. Now, Eric Hayes says, do pro athletes deserve the millions they make? Should they pay 90% tax rates? Yes. First of all, do they deserve the money they make? No. Since when, putting a ball in a hole, I love to watch, but it does nothing for society other than giving me comfort when I am not developing software or writing a blog or something like that. So having a progressive income tax that eventually gets the 90%, makes sense. I know it's hard for people to swallow because we have been indoctrinated into believing that what people's worth is, right? And it's hard to think that an economic system cannot survive when you have skewing in wealth this way, not because of your value to society, but because of the way capitalism works. And it's hard to disassociate capitalism from our way of thinking because all our lives we were programmed to think that way. I'm going to pause here to go to Donald. And by the way, folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, the number is 713-526-5738. I would love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear about your thoughts about some of the things that we're talking about today. I don't necessarily I would love to talk on this subject that is open-ended and have you go to the newsletter and watch the videos on AOC and watch the videos on Chuck Todd, knocking NBC, etc. Let's go to Donald and come on, and then we'll move on. Come on in, Donald. Donald, you're on.
Okay, how are you this morning, Egberto?
I am doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Okay. I had a problem this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm taking my son around and he's trying to get car keys made for his classic car and blah, blah, blah. We finally found somebody. And it was an old hardware store on the north side. And I took him down there where we live. And we go through all this and I find the right person to do it because I don't want to deal with a snowflake at the front counter. So I go back there and find the grumpy Mexican man. Okay. He's doing the key and everything, and he looks at my son because I go out and test one and come back. And he looks at my son and goes, you know, your dad's intelligent because he knew to blank everything else. Because everybody else was putting it in the program, you know, in the new automated one, and it wouldn't take it. This old man does it, and he looks at my son and says, you know what? There's a difference. I'm a Mexican, not a Mexican. And he looked dead in my son's face and started laughing. Now, how do I reprogram that is what I'm asking you today, because everybody messes with me and they even mess with my kids because we have a good nature and we're not harmful in any way whatsoever. And we show people respect, but they're always jabbing back at us with comments like that. So do I reprogram? Because I don't want my kids to go to the reprogramming camp. You know, I don't want them to be reconditioned to reprogram because of things they might say. So how do I fix that? Do I wear a sign or something that says, don't talk to me like a human being? It's all politics.
No, actually, I think you had a great experience with the person that you spoke to probably realized the kind of guy that you are. You like to BS, you like to have fun, you like to take, you don't care about, let me tell you something. Okay. I like people who can do things like that. Okay, and how the brother spoke to you, he looked at you and said, "Hey, yeah, I can BS with this guy because your spirit came over to him," and that happens, right? That was great. You had fun, and there's no reprogramming your son. Okay, if you teach your son good values, and things are okay. I love that little scenario, right? I love that little scenario. And by the way, you see that guy sitting behind that counter who did the keys? I wonder how valuable that the owner of that store was to that, or is to that guy. I wonder.
Well, that's why he's been there and he's grumpy and he puts up with him. But the point was he got a tip also, even though they're not supposed to take it, because that's what you do when you get good service. And that's what I taught my son. But the whole thing is people up politicians, they're sitting there saying, well, this is just a debate. No, it's not a debate. You speak from your heart, you use intelligence, and you tell the people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And it's not a debate when one says something horrible to the other and the other one says something horrible back. Everybody's tired of it. You guys can take this and run with it. You need to speak from your heart and be fact-based. And sometimes you've got to say stuff, even though it may not be what people want to hear. You have to tell the people the truth.
I could not disagree with that at all, right? I mean, and that's what I try. I hope that's what you get when you listen to Politics Done Right. And if at any time you don't, it is your duty to say, Egberto, you're doing a terrible job, right? So, I mean, no, look, I am with you on that, Donald. I'm absolutely with you on that. And again, I gave. I'm sorry, I missed that. I missed that.
What's your highest tax rates you've ever paid? When you work for a corporation, just a ballpark, highest yearly taxes you paid.
Let me tell you, when I produced a product called ComDRV, and another friend of mine created a specialized, what's known as a serial port in those days, that all the service stores used and the oil companies used to run the gas pumps and transmit the data to the main store, etc. I decentralized on my software and my hardware. Okay, and that few years that they were building out all those things around the country, I cleaned up, and I was in the highest tax bracket. Everything, of course, all of that is gone now. 12 years of doing this will eat everything, and which is what it did. But I tell you what, that being awashed in all of that, in as much as I worked hard for that, it opened my eyes into how disparity really worked. Because it's funny because the woman that I told you came over that said she's not going to let her daughter listen to my show anymore. She was kidding because of how progressive I am. She said the reason why she wasn't going to let her daughter listen to the show is one of the shows I talked about making so much money, I felt dirty. And also I said that, and look, I'm from Panama. I'm from a small country, okay? And being from a small country and not ever seeing that kind of money. And not only that, as I said, I worked hard. I mean, I've always worked between 12 and 16 hours a day, no matter what I'm doing. I'm doing politics right now, which makes me no money, which has eaten all my money. But I tell you, I still work the 16 hours a day, 12 days. And back when I was developing ComDRV, same thing. All right. So I did the work. But still, just seeing that I could sit on my butt after all these products is developed and have these companies, awash you in the things that you got. And then going out and see how hard people work, whether manually or otherwise, it really did something to me, right? So the answer is I'm not in the lowest tax bracket, but I've been in the highest tax bracket before. And like I said, the feeling, you would think that you're feeling happy. I didn't feel all that happy. And I wrote an article about that as far as when I transitioned into doing what I do now. I may be an idiot, but in fact, a lot of my friends call me an idiot, but, I sleep well at night. So, but it's important for people
to walk away from it because, when you're in the 1 to 5% tax bracket, 60, 80, 100,000 is nothing to pay in tax.
No, look, and that was the thing. Let me tell you a little story.
It's nothing.
Let me give you a little story, okay? And I tell this story all the time with Boeing. I had this other product called ComDRV, and it was the only product on the market that could do something special with the serial ports that Microsoft programmed. Actually, the Intel developed a piece of hardware with a flaw, and Microsoft software couldn't program it. I found a proprietary way that I released in the public domain, but a proprietary way to control this chip on this board. And when I did that, I licensed it just like Bill Gates used to license MS-DOS. I licensed this product to Boeing, and they when it was time to get, they wanted a 10,000 copy license, right? So I went ahead and I quoted this crazy value to Boeing, and they were going to eventually buy. So and they just wrote back and said, okay. I mean, these were emails. Wrote back and said yes, and they send us a contract. And I sat back in my chair and I'm like, damn, that's how things work, eh? There was no questions asked or anything, and I was going to be awashed in this money, right? And then I started to think, of course, corporations don't think like that, because ultimately, what happens is whatever I am paid, the exec's not going to pay that. The shareholders are not going to pay that. It's going to be eventually on the lowest man on the totem pole will always pay the bill, which in this case was the person who buy airline tickets. So you hear me talk about inflation, and inflation is not the problem of the government of Bush or Biden or whatever, but it's what corporations do, right? All the companies, they play with money as if it's monopoly, but for the person at the bottom of the totem pole, they are the ones who always pay the bills. And for those who think, well, look, that guy who makes $1 million, he's going to pay $200,000 in or $300,000 in taxes. Yeah, but he didn't really earn that million. Those people that are working hard in our society, go to the bus stops, go and watch the freeways every morning in Houston. How many of those people are voting against their interests because they're working so hard for somebody who sits on their butt and go make a lot of money, and we feel that they are entitled to making all that money on the work we do, and then we go ahead and look at our poor people around us or our middle class people around us who want good Social Security, who want good disability income, and say, we need to cut entitlements. Well, isn't that guy making money on your back getting an entitlement from you? The slave mentality that we have grown, that we've been inculcated with, Donald, is the kinds of things that I'm trying to mitigate, trying to get out of our minds. If people will listen, and if people would look at themselves and say, I am worthy. Anyway, anything else, Donald, before I get back on my soapbox?
Well, where are you going to find that orb that's worth all that value, that sets the value of the world currency and what the value of their capital is? Who holds that? Because when you find that out, then you have your answer. Because they play with it like we're toys, and their value stays the high, and they devalue currency. So who controls that? The banks? Or is there a cabal? I don't know.
Well, brother, you answered it. You answered it. It's a cabal. First of all, our banking system is not the government. Our banking system is a group of private banks. The banksters, when you hear about the banksters, guess what? It's real. And when it comes, and let me give you what has been the greatest fear of America right now because of how we control the world's currency in the dollar. Everybody should have heard something called BRICS. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And other countries have joined this consortium to take away the monopoly of the countries that monopolize on, they're based on the dollar and the euro, to change that paradigm so that we can really have the resources of the earth shared equitably, because right now they don't. France's prime minister said, as the African countries in the Western, the belt where you have all those former French colonies that are revolting right now, that you never hear on TV because they're scared of the spread of that spreading in Latin America and Indonesia. They don't want the spread of people realizing, why have we tolerated this for so long? But what's happening? Go ahead.
Okay, people don't know. Haiti had to buy their freedom back from France, if I'm correct.
Yes, they did.
Correct?
That's correct.
Okay, why is this not in schools? It's called a world that we live in, and it's a world that we all must interact in because there's only one of them. And I'm going to get on you right now because you hadn't watched the Great Dictator speech, but
you can beat up on me.
Talking to you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It was always great talking to you, but he's going to beat up on me because I still haven't read or watched the dictator thing. I mean, so much happening, but the Haitians had to buy their freedom. I mean, if people don't find that distasteful, I mean, it occurred here in the United States as well. Like when the government ended slavery, a lot of some slave owners, I think it was in the States, that didn't rebel, they actually got reparations. I thought it was funny, right? the people who did the works, the slaves, never got reparations. They never got reparations for the work they did to build this country. But the slave owners, some of them did get reparations from the United States government. When you hear about not teaching critical theory or whatever they want to call it in schools, even though it wasn't, right? What they're really trying to say is they don't want you to know history, because all people are fair, you know? The people who have done all the wrong in society had never been the masses, right? It's not the masses that have done wrong in society. It's the distinct leaders or kings and queens or feudal folks. They decided how to find a way to take advantage of people. And one of the reasons in America right now, we are burning books and we are stopping people from reading certain types of books under the premise that it'll teach people to hate America, or it will make white kids feel ashamed. It's a sham. All kids want to learn stuff, and no kid is going to take the blame of their ancestors for what's happening today. But that's not the issue at all about people feeling bad about what their people have done. That's crap. I don't know anybody who sits down there and say, well, you know, my great grandfather did this and that stench is on me. No. The only stench on you is what you do, not what somebody did that reared you or something like that. And that's why I constantly talk about, if we start looking at each other as individual human beings, not as individualists or rugged individuals, because, you know, that's another thing capitalism uses to take advantage of you. They prevent the formation of true societies, right? True societies mean all the people that I hang around, and when he needs a cup of sugar, I take a cup of sugar. And when I need a cup of flour, he brings a cup of flour. All of that stuff that makes society is gone. You know, it's gone. You know, I remember here in when we just moved into this neighborhood, we tried to foment that kind of a society. And as politics changed, you could palpably see how the society changed. Anyway, Donald took me off subject. Well, I don't think he took me off subject. I think he allowed me to rant some. But anyhow, Eric says, do pro athletes deserve the millions they make? No. That's a simple answer. No. All right. And by the way, folks, you can give me a call, 713-526-5738. I know some of you probably are seething because of some of what I said. I would love some of the people who completely disagree with what I said with wealth, income tax, and that sort of stuff to give me a call. I would love to hear your point of view. 713-526-5738. We only had one call for today. Did I bore you that badly? 713-526-5738, extension number 2. I got onto the soapbox because I didn't want to go solely onto the stuff that I prepared last night that you can go to the newsletter and read. But anyway, let's continue talking about how it benefited the rich.
Jack, wake up, Jack.
Well, since you went ahead and came on, what you thought about some of that? Agree, disagree? I don't care.
Okay. I actually was paying attention, but it's the tax breaks that they give to the rich. It's the trickle down theory. It's Reaganomics. That was his whole idea. Supply side economics was what it's really called. But Reaganomics was, well, you know, if we make the filthy rich even filthier richer, that money's going to trickle down to your service people, which it didn't. Of course it didn't. And it's not going to. Anybody who believes in supply side economics or Reaganomics is nuts, because it's not going to happen. It never happened before, and it'll never happen. And that's what we're seeing with Donald Trump, or well, his presidency, supply side economics or Reaganomics, just by a different name, cutting the taxes on the very filthy rich and, you know, leaving the middle income folks crushed because the middle income folks are paying the bills, and we're disappearing rapidly into poverty because we never can go up. There's the paper ceiling that I've been seeing about, oh, well, this corporation requires you to have a bachelor's degree in what? Music videos. Oh, well, yeah, that's fine. No, that should be they should really look into the labor laws as saying, okay, requirements for a job. Oh, you need a bachelor's degree. No, you don't. You just need to know what you're doing.
Amen.
Anyway,
Amen.
Jack has awakened here, and he wants to talk. Here we go.
Jack, the floor is yours.
It usually always follows privatize the profits and socialize the cost.
Yep.
That's true.
That's true.
We're going to hand it back to you.
Oh, no. I mean, if he's not, did you want to add something else, Jack?
No.
He says
okay.
No. He's going back to sleep.
Hey, don't sleep on me, brother. The phone may ring. 713-526-5738. Again, the number is 713-526-5738. This is the first time since we've gone to this format that in the mornings we've only gotten one call. We get at least 5 calls, sometimes 15. Sometimes
where's the
20.
mayor?
The mayor is missing.
Is he sleeping in?
I think he must be sleeping in. 713. Come on, Mayor. 713-526-5738 is the number to call in. But what I really want is I want to hear, we have the chats going crazy with Eric. And by the way, hello, Bongo Dave from Indiana. Thank you for being here. We have Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Bongo from hello from Indiana. Patrick Barron. I forgot where Patrick Barron is from. And Eric Hayes from the Kingwood, Texas area. Eric says, teach financial literacy. And I agree with Eric 100%. And he said, if he did not earn $1 million, that is opinion. Is it okay for $300K paid to government in tax dollars? Okay. Whoa, the phones are lighting up. I love that. Let's just start passing some through while you name them. So just go ahead and pass the 6684 through, and I will go ahead and ask the name on that one. 6684. Welcome to Politics Done Right.
6684. This is Brian.
Hey, Brian, talk to me, brother.
Okay. You're just talking about supply side economics. It works.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it works.
Tell me how.
Let me see. During the Kennedy era, he took the tax rate on the top tax 10%. 94% to 70%. That spurred the economic growth of the 60s and 70s, which actually stopped during the economic turn down due to the oil embargo when we supported the state of Israel for the 73 war. We couldn't get any oil. So there was a lot of lost jobs.
Okay, let me just. I know the numbers because I wrote the book called "As I See It: Class Warfare: The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom," and I did calculate the numbers, and it's right there for all to see. But let me just give you a quick thing because I got to go. As I asked for callers, it just filled up. So let me just tell you this real quick, Brian, and then we'll talk tomorrow. Supply economics doesn't work for one reason. Supply side economics assume that the wealthy people know what the poor people and the middle class people want. So we give all the money to the top. Remember, I explained how taxes work to the top, and supposedly they'll create the factories, etc., for what people want. Guess what? The best people to tell what they want are the people. And if the people are if we give the money to the people and not to the top, what we get is demand-driven production, which is what's known as efficiency, because the factories are built for what people want and not what folks think they want. We talk about it more tomorrow. Brian, let's go to Peter, line 2. Come on in, Peter. I'm going to kind of go through people quick now. I asked for the calls and you guys answered. Come on in, Peter.
Good morning, Egberto. Thank you so much. And I love the conversation this morning. Of course, the child tax credit needs to be part of that equation because we need to get that back. We need to get money back in the working people's pockets. And I also love your idea about the like say $1,000 here, $1,000 there, as opposed to percentages, because it seems like that's a much more fair system. And Yeah, it's a complex, taxes that no one really wants to talk about taxes. It's a difficult topic, but I would have loved to hear more about AOC and what you have prepared. So
let me just tell you, it's all there. It's all there. Everything that I do is written down and the videos are there. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I did a whole talk about it. So I did a commentary. Everything is there. So I'll talk to you later, Peter. Got to get to James.
My future colleague, because actually that's for Dan Crenshaw. He's right next to.
There you go.
His office. Can't wait for that.
Good luck in your race, Peter. Good luck in your race. I'll be voting for you.
I already got 17,000 votes in my primary, so I'm going to need your guys' help for the.
Thank you, brother. You got me. You got me, Peter. Let's go to James. Let's go to James. Come on in, James.
How's it going? Yeah. Can we pivot, or we have to talk about taxes?
No. Just anything, just quickly that I can answer and move on.
Yeah, immigration.
Yes.
I'm a public school teacher in Houston, and I teach exclusively refugee, undocumented minors from all over the place for the past 30 years. And I heard what AOC said the other day, and about immigration, that it's not a problem. It's not all this. Anyway, I love these kids. But what a lot of people don't understand is that it's not a monolithic group. Kids and people come here for so many different reasons, and from like just wanting to have a better life. Some people come temporarily. They know they're coming for 3 years, send the money back, and go in Guatemala. I go to Guatemala a lot. They buy a little piece of land, or some people come.
James, wrap it up for me. Tell me give me your punchline.
Punchline. It's the people rushing the border. Some of those people are going to be here for a little bit of time, and some are going to be gone after about 2 or 3 years after they earn money to buy a house in their country. I'm not for or against that. It's just a fact.
And guess what, James? I have two things to tell you. First of all, teachers, I revere teachers more than any other profession. So thank you for what you're doing, number one. Number two, on immigration, the immigration problem is not at the border. We do have an immigration problem, but listen to what AMLO from Mexico said on 60 Minutes yesterday. That's how you handle the immigration problem. Check it out, 60 Minutes yesterday, what AMLO had to talk about. We'll talk another time, James, when we have more time, okay? Thank you so kindly, and thank you for being a teacher.
Brother. Take it easy, man.
All right, let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. My brother and the mayor finally calling in. Johnny, only giving you a minute, brother. Talk.
Okay. I have an uncle who has a condition whereby he is prescribed a pot of coffee, to drink a pot of coffee every day to slow his heart down. I don't know what that condition is called, but similarly, what I do is
bradycardia.
In the dark, deep breathing in order to relax. I find you relaxing, not boring. Big difference. By the way, when you guys talk about inequity, the thing that bothers me, that gets me aggravated and wakes me up, gets my heart beating and my blood pressure up, is when I hear on NPR yesterday they're talking about we need more private-public partnerships, or whatever it was he was talking about.
All right. Stop. You have been so right on that private-public partnership thing. I need to do a show on that to show how it's nothing more than a payoff to politicians to give corporations access. Thank you, brother Johnny, and thank you for calling. Got to jump to Mike. You're a great guy. Mayor of Politics Done Right. Let's get to Mike. Come on in, Mike, real quick.
Yeah, good morning. So supply side economics, dropping the tax rate from 90 to 75 or 50 or 33 is not the same as dropping it from 33 to 25. Yeah. I mean, if you go from 90% taxing, I agree that's kind of like suffocating the economy. You drop from 90 to 50, you're going to spur economic activity, investment, and the creation of jobs. But when you're at 33 and you drop the tax rate to 31, that does not have the same effect. That 33 going to 31 or 29 is probably just money going into the bank account.
Mike, thank you for calling. But I want to say one thing very important to you, okay? Don't ever believe that dropping the tax rate is what increases economic activity. A dollar doesn't know from where it is spent. Let me explain. If I am a corporation paying 90% or whatever, paying 90% in taxes, that tax goes into the government coffers. That government doesn't put that into savings or something. It spends the money immediately. That money spent, economic activity is money spent, not money saved. We have been lied to about dropping taxes, somehow creating economic activity. What happens really is we drop taxes without changing anything else. All we've done is printed money. It's how it appears on the books. Put the taxes, keep the taxes that way and put it out. It will still enter the economy. We can talk about that tomorrow. I got to go to gym, but Mike, don't believe the hype about tax cuts. I beg people to look at how the system really works.
There's a difference between 90% and 30%.
I'm not discussing about you. What you're saying, there's no doubt what you're saying is correct. But I want you to know that it's not tax cuts that create economic activity. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Let's go to Jim. Come on in, Jim. Jim, you're on. Jim?
I'm not sure where you're calling. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, hi. Okay. My name is Gil, not Jim.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. I just want to digress here with you on your subject. Can you briefly explain to me how was Social Security affected after the last 20 years? Why is there such reductions in payments and allegedly people being taxed on Social Security benefits?
All right. I don't remember which law is it that started to tax Social Security benefits. I think it's an aberration. I think it was under Bush that they started to tax Social Security, either under Bush or under Clinton when the Republicans took over the Congress. Reagan. I can't remember which one it was, but
it was under Reagan.
It was under Reagan. Okay, it was under Reagan. Thank you, brother. It was under Reagan. So I thought that was horrendous when they did that because it misses the point altogether. But Jim, I'm out of time, and let's talk tomorrow. I hope you're listening tomorrow, and you can call in earlier and we can discuss whatever you want to discuss. Thank you so kindly for calling in, Jim. All right, folks, we have to run back to the studio before we end this baby. Studio.
I wish that I could tell you about the Reagan thing and Social Security, but we don't have the time.
Tell me tomorrow.
Okay, I will.
Tell me tomorrow.
Jack, yes. What you got? He says nothing. All right. It's all yours.
All right, folks. Thank you, callers. Thank you, everybody. It's my fault that I kind of solicit the calls a bit too late. Let's do it a little bit early tomorrow. Thank you all. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics and Right. Stay tuned for Democracy Now! My name is Egberto Willies, Politics and Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.